Hi, this is Promote You, a living educational portal for anyone who wants to learn how to self promote and market. Instead of learning rote skills from a book, this is an opportunity to hear stories from the people who've already experienced the ups and downs of self promotion. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel, like, and comment so we can bring you more. My name is Stephen Cohen. I've managed health food stores, sold health insurance through telemarketing. I currently own a sales and marketing firm in the Northeast for boutique manufacturers trying to get into health food stores called the Tortoise and Rooster Trading Company. We just hit our 10-year anniversary. I'm also a comedian, a writer, and a show producer. Today, I have Jessica Rotondi. She has had a variety of ups and downs with self promotion as a comedian, an actress, director, writer, producer, and teacher. She's going to tell me how she's gotten her short films into festivals and times where it just didn't work out with plays and comedy shows. If you have any questions for Jessica during the show or after, please make sure to comment. I'm going to bring Jessica up right now. She is finishing doing her makeup. I almost caught her.
Like, oh, whoops.
So close.
It's okay. I'm very transparent. I wear makeup, you guys. Shit. What's going on?
Thank you for your transparency. Good, Jessica. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? I'm excited
doing great.
to chat about all these things.
I'm excited for you to come chat with us. So, Jessica, Kristen Seltman, by the way, says that you are the best.
Kristen, you're the best. Oh, just can you stay here the whole time and just compliment me?
She probably will. That's her position on the show. She's head complimenter.
That's
CCO.
one of my, and you guys don't even know I'm paying her. That's like one of my new #1 PR things.
That was a big mistake on your part. She would have done it for free. She would have done it for free. She loves you. True. So tell me, where are you from and how did you get here?
I'm from Long Island. I know everyone loves that wonderful place. I started acting when I was like 4 or 5. Like it was just something I wanted to do, but I was also almost around the same time wanting to make my own stories. So I would write my own plays or like write the play version of like my favorite story and make like all my relatives watch it and make like, sets with crepe paper and stuff. And then I'd make my friends be in my plays, like in the neighborhood. It sort of became almost like a funny gag, but not to me, but to everybody else. To me, it was very serious. But and then I started acting classes at like 8 or 9. And it was just like in my mind, like, I'm gonna be an actress. I'm just gonna be an actress. Like adults would be like, are you sure that's really not the smart? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be an actress. Like it was just, that was all, in my mind, like I said, I wanted to tell my own stories and make my own movies. And I was always kind of envisioning my own movies.
Sure.
But I, was going the theater route. Obviously, that was a little bit more accessible at that time than making my own movies. There wasn't digital cameras back then. I was making my own dumb little videos on like VHS and stuff. But so I was really lucky for a number of reasons. In my elementary school, there's like a special theater program where they picked like a lottery of the kids that got to be in it for 5th and 6th grade. And it was really just regular school, but then we had like a performance component. So we put on plays and the rest of the schools in the school district would come watch them. And we do talent shows every week. So I think that like gave me a confidence, and it was all, dorky theater kids like me. But some of them were amazing. I mean, even looking back, one of my guy friends who became my best friend went to the prom with me in high school. Like he was playing piano, like he was, what do you call that? Musical prodigy at like, I don't know, 9, and he's been a musical director on Broadway for years. And he's currently the music director of the Alanis Morissette musical when it comes back. But so just, I got to meet so many cool kids, and then cool kids, the theater kids. And then in high school, I was also really lucky because the theater program there was a really cool mix of, and it wasn't all like dorky kids. It was some of the also like artsy, cool kids. We got to do a lot of plays throughout the year. And so we were like, no, I swear, I see your doubting face. No,
they were cool. They were cool for you.
I was actually like
I know what you're thinking, because when I was in high school for theater, I was like, oh man, I'm around so many of the coolest kids. But now looking
Oh
back,
no!
they
Looking back,
weren't.
they were totally dorky. I mostly
Okay.
say for there was like a couple of that ones that weren't, and they were my friends, and we were sort of like, we're not really in the theater world. Like we were like, we're too cool for this, but we would also still do the plays. I mean, we just wouldn't ever think of ourselves as theater dorks. But truly, we had lots of friends. I swear, we went to lots of parties, did lots of drugs. But uh, but I got to write and direct and act in that program. So it also kind of gave me a confidence that I wanted to keep making my own work. And then when I went to NYU, I just kept doing that same like scatterbrain thing. I went to, the Tisch School of the Arts and went to the only studio that you could do acting and directing and also some playwriting. And then of course, because I'm, crazy overachiever, I then also did screenwriting in London for a program they had. So because I always knew I wanted to get into film. I just didn't really know how to, at that point. And then when I graduated, I started working for production companies as a reader, and I started learning more about the production end and, as an assistant for producers. And eventually I went back to school to Columbia to the film program there. And along the way, I was kind of always jumping between acting and directing, and I started doing some casting. So it's like I started really kind of seeing all different sides of the industry. But at Columbia, I really, I just made tons of shorts, and really they're really strong in their writing, and that's really where I learned how to be a screenwriter. Learned what screenwriting is, really what good screenwriting is, which I think still a lot of people don't know, even though they think they do because they have final draft. But not no dig on amateur screenwriters with final draft. Just take a class or something. But anyway, so I learned a lot there, and then after that I started teaching a good amount. So I've sort of, had this journey of theater and film and acting, directing, writing, and, and then I started doing stand-up like 5 or 6 years ago, just to, why not? Because I'm doing a billion other things. But I haven't quite been as focused on acting since then. But then, of course, I just did a feature that I started last year. And so, but that was like my friends made it. But I haven't been putting my energy as much into like auditions, and because that can be incredibly time consuming, getting headshots and resumes. And when you have a commercial agent, I mean, you're running all over the city. They give you auditions like the day before. So I kind of put that energy more into stand up because I was just kind of tired of that. But I still love acting. I just would rather do it in my own projects or like friends' projects. Or, if I get successful, people just offer me roles. I'm totally cool with that too. And so, the last few years, it's been a combo of screenwriting, working on a couple of my own projects, teaching screenwriting and directing, doing a little bit of casting still, and doing stand-up. That's sort of mostly been my focuses. And I'm really hoping to make a feature in the next couple of years. And I have a pilot I'm working on, and,
Cool.
all that
And
crap.
what do you do in your free time?
Well, I never had any until this, like 4 months ago.
All right.
But no, I'm just kidding. What do I do?
I was just kidding. I wasn't expecting you to have any free time.
I know
You do fortune tell, apparently.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That might also be a joke. I don't know.
I'm also psychic. Yeah.
Okay.
I do psychic readings. That's a part-time job of mine.
My life is not really weird. In your free time, though. That's just happening all the time. If you're psychic, that's just a part of you.
People are like, they just show up my door. They're like, help me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I'm really good at knowing when someone's lying, but it's not like I do that in my free time. I'm not like a criminologist in my free time. I'm just always watching for lies. And then I'm like,
maybe you're like a detective, or you were in a previous life.
No. I just am in sales, so I,
Oh, right. So
I know, yeah. You can just kind of tell when someone's trying a little bit too hard. There's something about that. You don't seem like a liar.
I don't. Yeah, I do. I occasionally lie, but I'm generally as open as I can be as a person.
You seem that way. You seem like a non-liar. So
I've never had such a great compliment in my life. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kristen, work harder. Kristen's our chief compliments officer. She's giving you one
better be better than non-liar.
I guess Jessica is the best is a pretty good compliment. Don't get me wrong.
But yeah, and so promotion stuff, I've had all sorts of stuff from theater, the film, the comedy,
Before we get into that, where have you taught script writing, screenwriting?
Um, Most recently, New York Institute of Technology, Hofstra University, Five Towns College. Those are both Long Island. There's another one. Is there another college? New York Film Academy. Uh, New York. There's another like little film school. Am I not allowed to do that? I'm allowed to
No,
do that,
you
right?
can. I
Oh,
don't
they're
know. If
biggest douchebags of all time. They treat their teachers like crap. Awful people. Sorry, don't work there. No, but you know what? The reason I say that is because a lot of students from like NYU grad, Columbia grad, it's like we just spent $1 billion on these degrees. We know our shit, and they're like, we paid 30 an hour, and that's or 35 or whatever the crap. I think it was 30. I think it might still be that, which is the lowest rate you'll find anywhere. Like I also taught at Gotham Writers Workshop. They're even way they pay way more than that. You know, they take advantage and like at the time he died, the guy who created the school, and he was also an awful person. He was
Dr.
like
Film
a
Academy
millionaire, yeah.
is named
And
after him.
oh,
Dr. Film.
the New York Film Academy.
Yeah, his last name is Film Academy.
Yeah, yeah,
As
exactly.
one of these states.
Exactly. Yeah, he's sorry. I didn't mean to go off on your Film Academy. I obviously have a
No,
lot
it's
of bitterness.
This is the biggest roasting anyone's ever gotten on the show is New York Film Academy. They had it coming and they got it.
Yeah, I
I'll
think
make
of
sure
the,
people
and then I
watch.
also taught sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'll make sure people watch minute 10 if they're thinking about going to New York Film Academy, so they know. I'll be like minute 10 to minute 11:30 of Jessica Rotondi's
And you
interview.
can ask me.
She
Feel
tears
free to
them
message
apart. Feel free to message Jessica so she can give you hate messages.
I'll
She's
give you
made
all the
memes.
details.
She has a whole folder full of memes about her hate for New York Film Academy. So no, I think.
And then I also taught a couple of high school programs actually that were really cool. That was where kind of how I started, I think, with screenwriting and directing. Oh, and I did originally start teaching acting, but I don't do that quite as much now.
Okay. So a very, very well-rounded career in the arts. You've done a lot of stuff and you've actually gotten paid for it, which a lot of artists never end up getting paid for it.
When it's crazy.
Thing.
Even when I've written a couple of like writer for hire scripts for people, and it hasn't been like crazy money. We're not talking about, Hollywood money, but even just getting like a few $1,000s for the first time for a script I wrote was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. It's like
I got paid $100 once for an improv show. Man, I'm
shocked when I get paid like $5 or $10 for stand up. I'm like, are you sure? Like, no, it's really okay.
Was this for Mark Normand? Are you sure this is for me?
Yeah, this $10, $20. Your club is really.
I think this is actually a lighting mistake, Kristen Seltman. I think that I'm wearing a green bandana, but in front of a blue background, and you're wearing turquoise earrings, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah, these don't they match your bandana?
But I think no, because this is green, but that's turquoise. But I think your shirt matches. I think your shirt matches my back wall.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
There's a lot of matching going on.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, but it's the summertime. This is a good time for that. But thank you for that comment, Kristen. Really important for the show. Glad you mentioned that, Kristen. Really helpful. I love Kristen Seltman. She's going to Facebook message me right now and be like, "Wait, was that not helpful? Was that wrong?"
She's like, "I'm sorry, don't hate me."
Did she just text you? I'm sorry, don't hate me.
No, but I'm waiting for her. No, just kidding. I'm kidding, Kristen. I'm kidding. I'm so grateful you're here.
I'm not. I'm grateful you're here, but I'm not kidding, Kristen. Stop apologizing to me. You haven't done anything wrong. So, Jessica, I really like. And I'm going to use the word failure, and people shy away. Oh no, it's a challenge. Oh, let's soften it. Okay. I really like failures. I feel like failures strengthen us. Where have you had a straight up, stone cold failure in your career that involved self-promotion and marketing?
I was reflecting on this earlier because of the show. Definitely one that stands out was a play that I had co-written and directed right out of college with one of my best friends. And I was just so gung-ho and naive, right as we were like our senior year at NYU. I was like, I'm going to get all my friends together and we're going to start a theater company because there weren't like enough of those in New York City at the time. But I was just so determined, and we would have these meetings and we would do these workshops. I mean, it was all so ridiculous, but we were very young. But we did actually write. My best friend at the time, she's still one of my best friends. We wrote, and she was my roommate. So we were like 24/7, like talking about it, writing about it. We were like so, we did actually write a decent play that, looking back, I'm not like, yeah, it wasn't, I was 20 or 21, but like, I'm not cringing. I think it was fairly intelligent, an interesting idea. But when we first did it, we produced it independently at this great little theater in Tribeca. And we had, I think, like the opening night, like all our friends and family. And then we had, I think, like 5 or 6 more shows. And there were definitely like at least 2 or 3 where it was like me in the audience and like maybe a homeless man, and I was like, oh my God, like we just spent so much time and energy. And, with promotion, we had done parties. I mean, this is before social media,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So there wasn't, you were limited in certain ways, but we, emailed all our friends and sent out press kits, and we're, sending it to casting directors with the actors. And I mean, we did a lot, and we were doing way too much and barely sleeping. And, it was just like such our baby and such a big deal. And I think that was around the time where I was like, I gotta start getting more into film. There was just something like so heartbreaking about how much work I'd spent, like a year or whatever, working on it. Maybe not a year, but it felt that way, working on this project. Side note, we did end up getting into the Fringe Festival, and then we got seen by a lot more people. But at the time, I didn't know that was going to happen, and it was just like, I just spent so much energy, time, money on this, I think that was sort of the beginning of me really being frustrated with the limitations of theater.
What do you think? Sure. What do you think was the issue that led to those nights where no one showed up? It obviously wasn't the quality of the work. You all got into the Fringe Festival, and it rarely is. I can think of so many times where things are successful that don't deserve to have ever been put on stage. Yeah. What is it, through all the hard work and the energy and the money that you put in, that if you could do that over, you might do differently?
I mean, I think there was a lot of little things. Like the theater was a really cool theater, but it was like one of those old Tribeca buildings where I think it was like on the 3rd or 4th floor. So you had to like walk up these like giant stairs. I mean, looking back, that wasn't a big deal to us at 2021, but like probably that dissuaded some people. I don't think there was an elevator. So that was one thing. And I think if I remember correctly, we did like a run, like maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or at least Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 2 weekends. I think maybe we did too many dates, even though at the time you're like, so many people are going to want to see it. But then in terms of like getting the word out there to newer people, before social media, I think you had to be really creative. And honestly, looking back, I'm not totally sure what we would have done differently, but I know what worked really well in the Fringe Festival. And I think if we had sort of had those ideas on our own before, like Fringe makes you create a postcard and do all these interesting things. And we had already done a little bit of that. And my friend, I ironically, like we got chosen in Time Out New York as one of the best postcards that year for the Fringe Festival. That was another, like all these things happened like after the fact. And I was like, oh, I'm so over this. And of course, all these great things happen, which is very much the story of my life a lot of the time. But I think if we had sort of done some of those marketing things that Fringe like kind of hold your hand and makes you do, which again, we did some of it, but I think we probably would have had some better results, and probably caught attention more.
Is there anything that you learned from the experience of doing a Fringe Festival besides the postcards that you said, oh, wow, that's great?
Well, they made you, at the time, they made you like busk. Is that what they call it? Busk? Where you're like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And I think they still do that. I think that's sort of a Fringe Festival thing, like whether it's here, or other cities, but, or they encourage it. So we would do like little scenes in Washington Square Park, which is again funny to think about. But they make you do a lot of these different things to get your show out there, kind of get seen and be different from other people. Although there's like 200 shows doing similar things, but I think it was just forcing us to think in that way before I had really I hadn't done like producing classes. I hadn't, all of this was like me learning as I went, and also I was the co-writer and director. So we really needed like a producer, but of course we didn't know like a real, which is always one of the hardest people to get when you don't have money. But really kind of being forced to think like, what's going to kind of get people to notice us or be curious about this, whether it's visuals or like funny, weird things that people are performing. And I think because of that, we started to get more and more creative. We like came up with, and my roommate, who was the co-writer and also an actress in it, she actually has a really good marketing brain. And I think that's not really my strong suit, although I think I started to learn from her. So she came up with these like cool, kind of gimmicky, like, write-ups on each main character that almost looked like not necessarily a wanted poster, but things that would like get people's attention, like stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And make people curious. And so we started putting stuff like that, in subways, because the play takes place in a subway and things of that nature. Of course, obviously things get ripped off in the subway, but we were trying a lot of things like that at the time. It's definitely around the Fringe time that I think helped us a lot.
Okay, that's awesome. Was there one situation with self-promotion and marketing that was just an absolute success?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, like a lot of time it does feel like the things that I'm not stressing over and sort of things fall into place. But after doing a certain amount of work, it's like certain things then happen in a surprising way, which is also, I think the way life is a lot of time. But one of my last shorts at Columbia that I wrote and directed, not my thesis, but what they call the non-thesis, which is like a thesis, but in case you don't love it, you can make another one. But basically, I don't know what, it's a terrible way to kind of call it, but I had spent so long on the script and I really felt like it was really perfect for my voice, a kind of dark comedy and, very female driven, very sexy and fun, and very different from what most of my classmates were doing. And I love my class, by the way, but it's like, it was probably like 70% guys, maybe even 75%. And even with the women, a lot of time, and no offense to any of them, a lot of them are my friends, but they would do the, like sweet coming of age stories, of like 16-year-old, I'm not going to say getting her period because they work more cooler than that. But, I was doing a rom-com about a dominatrix. It wasn't exactly Columbia material. Columbia really encourages kind of worldly topics, kind of intellectual. I mean, it's not like they're telling you to be that way, but that it's a very international program. And so anyway, I think because mine was so different and because it was a really strong, interesting female protagonist, a few of the professors, even though I was like I didn't like win, they have like their own festival. I didn't win that, but then I won like Audience Choice Award. So it was like, I had people that were on my side, but I was sort of like the underdog, and I think a part of that was because I'd spent so long on the script and people could see that no matter how you feel about the subject, it was a tight, it was a good project. I also had great actors, but I started promoting it. I started to apply for like film festivals after Columbia, and I'm trying to think what else. Well, I was also using it to try to get in touch with agents and managers and producers, and I definitely got a lot of meetings. But unbeknownst to me, a couple of my professors who often would help promote like the award-winning films at Columbia, the ones that won the festival, not by the audience, but by the teachers and the prestigious awards, they were also like passing my film along to agents and managers and stuff because they liked it so much.
They just didn't want to let their wives know that they like the thing about the
dominant. Well, yes, and that's another thing that's been that was an ongoing thing with that. A lot of men were like, a lot of women would be like, "This is amazing! I want to try to get you, a script deal," and then some of the men would be like, "What is it? What is it about?" And they'd be like terrified of me. I'm like, "I'm not. No one's gonna hurt you. It's okay." But the other thing that was really funny with that film, and I mean, I kind of was conscious of this when I chose the topic. I knew it would be controversial and a lot of people would be curious about it. And even the name is kind of weird. And and the poster is a guy handcuffed with a woman sitting on his lap, and seductive and sexy, but also kind of funny. And when I put it on YouTube, which again now I can't even think of when this was, a long time ago, I don't know what it's up to now, but I feel like I have like 300,000 or 400,000 views from that. And that's something like that. Like, I guess it makes sense because it does have a dominatrix theme, but things like that I never really thought about, but I'd done sort of all the prep work leading up to it that kind of got people to look at my work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a really long-winded answer. I'm not even sure if I answered it, but that was sort of some of the things you were asking about, right?
Yeah, I think that you answered it. I mean, is there anything else that you want to speak towards on that?
There was another situation I was thinking of before, and now I forgot.
We can come back to it when you think of it.
Okay.
You mentioned getting into film festivals. I don't know a lot about the world of film. I played the lead character in one film when I was like 25, and we finished it. And it was done in Miami. They had one more scene I was going to have to do. I was going to have to fly back. And as soon as I left, after like hours and hours, like days and days of work, the whole thing fell apart. The director and the director of photography and the assistant director got in a fist fight. It never got done. I never even got to get anything for my reel. And I was like, I'm never doing film again. Not that anyone was going to give me a shot, but I was just like,
hey, you never know.
Yeah. It's over. Which is about as good of acting as I can do. So that's why I won't get into it. I'm very hyper masculine, as you can tell by the bandana.
Oh man, so macho.
So macho. I usually get comments like too much testosterone in this interview. But I have what?
I said, tone it down.
So I have to assume that relationship building is a large part in all this. I think a lot of people probably go to try to get onto festivals and they've never applied to the festival before. They don't know anyone there. They don't get in and they go, that's unfair. I'm done applying to. I did it again. I'm done applying to festivals. I never do that. That was just a thing that I'm doing for this. But I feel like it must be really helpful to have those relationships or to have professors who are passing you along that already have the relationships. So can you talk towards any times where having relationships was the self-promotion? Like that was the marketing for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many stories with that. And I haven't made a short film in a while. So like I have a lot of friends who after film school made 1, 2, 3 other shorts. And it was because they were getting to know a lot of the festival programmers in some of the biggest festivals in the world. And as much as like, I would sometimes be like, why do they keep making shorts? Because it's not, you want to eventually make a feature. That's the goal. But a lot of time that's how you're getting more traction. Maybe producers interested in you, especially if you make a short that's similar to a feature you're writing. Like that was the old model, but it's still somewhat relevant. But with festivals, I've definitely had people like other friends and who are filmmakers put in good words for me for sure. I'm trying to think if I know there's been probably at least 1 or 2 that helped. Also festivals and contests that I applied to once, and then I applied to a second time I've gotten into, which, I remember I used to be in this film group for women, and we talk about how there was like a study how certain men, not saying you or any of the men watching, but certain men, I don't know how the fuck they did this study, but certain men like are totally comfortable just continuously applying for the same job or applying for the same festival like every few months or something. But if a woman gets rejected, I don't remember the percentage. I want to say like 70 or 80% of them are like, I'll never apply to that again. I'm sorry.
You want to do the hand motion?
I'm sorry.
No, this. I'm done.
This is me being like a little lady, and that's you being a masculine man.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what I mean? It's like,
the estrogen,
like
please. Tone down the estrogen. Too much estrogen. Okay.
Yeah, and so like, a lot of estrogen. That's part of the problem. But But yeah, a lot of women I think feel weird being pushy, or they think that's pushy if you apply for the same festival or something, 2 times in a row or 2 times ever,
Yeah.
when a lot of time these things you actually do, especially the hard, the more prestigious ones, you do have to, they really respect if you apply a few times. But besides that, I've had so many things that, like, I've met people, again, often the theme being when I'm not stressing about it. I've met people kind of doing one job, but then gotten other jobs. So, like, I've talked on panels as a casting director. And I remember one time I did this a few years ago, casting director, filmmaker, kind of giving that, multi-hyphenate perspective. I met this woman who was a fairly known commercial casting director who was so kind. And she we instantly hit it off. She was like my big sister for a while, and she was recommending me to agents and, helped me get a couple of gigs. And it was it just really kind of happened serendipitously. I wasn't the main reason was because she thought I was really funny on the panel. I wasn't trying to be funny. I was just being myself, but she's like, oh, you'd be so funny in commercials. And I think I maybe just started stand up, or, she knew I had a comedy background, so that helped, but I would have never predicted something like that, and then of course, like all the things I was saying with film school, so many of the people I know from film school are now writers on TV shows and, directing features, and a lot of producers in TV and film. And, I haven't hit up most of them for favors, as I'm very selective and, want to be clear and, using my favors wisely. But so many of them continuously are like, when you have a script you want me to, look at, let me know. Or they put me up for staff writing jobs, even though I haven't had an agent, things like that. Which mainly because we spent so many years working together. It's like they know, they trust that I have some ability or talent.
Yeah.
I know there's so many more examples of that, but those are just a handful of a few. Do you want me to keep going? I can give you some more.
Well, I mean, we can just take a moment. A theme that keeps coming up, you mentioned themes on this, has been consistency. And that was something that you mentioned earlier. 60 to 70% of women apparently don't reapply for film festivals because they're
I
worried.
might be wrong about the number, but it was something like that.
Okay, but they're concerned that they're coming off as pushy or bossy. And just as a man, I'll talk as a man. Pushy and bossy is a tonality. It's not being consistent. It's being rude. It's not being self-aware. It's not something that's likable for men or for women. I get it, but consistency. Reaching out politely, and I don't mean you don't have to be soft about it. You just have to be friendly and polite. Those are things that people like. They want to know that you're still around. If you only apply once, you could be dead. They could have really liked your thing, but it's just not the right thing for their festival. They're looking for a different fit. And then you come back a second, a third, or a 15th time, and they say, okay, I'm finally ready for this person. So don't give up. Keep being consistent. And the importance that you mentioned of relationships, that you knew these people some years ago, and you are waiting for the right time to approach them and to use that relationship to get you to where you're going. And there's nothing wrong with using relationships. There's something wrong with abusing relationships. But I think that people get this concept in their head that they can't reach out to friends.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Hollywood is founded on. I mean, besides, a lot of time celebrities are rich people's kids, it's other celebrities' kids, but so many jobs are given to friends, I mean, obviously talented friends, or at least hopefully talented friends, but, because people want to work with people they like. It's not just about playing favorites or, being unfair.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in a writer's room for 12 plus hours, you don't want to be in a room with assholes. You know what I mean? You want to be in a room with cool people. And that's why that's just kind of a broad generalization, but that's sort of why people recommend their friends that they believe in and think are talented.
Which brings up another point. Hygiene If you're going to be in a room with people for 12 hours, please take care of your hygiene. I feel like a lot of people forget about that
I
because
think of stand-up comics and also film school.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of creatives. Like they don't concern themselves with stuff like that, and the way you appear to the five senses are sadly really important. So take care of that stuff. Keep taking care of that stuff.
I know, it's true.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably more for me than for you. You probably haven't made that mistake, but yeah.
Like in a room or in a job.
Yeah, I definitely probably could have washed more in my 20s.
I think that's a thing that a lot of guys learn in their
Yeah.
20s.
Now I could use less skincare. Like I'm overdoing the skincare a little bit, but it's free for me because I own a company that sells skincare.
Yeah. And God, I mean, a guy that knows skincare, that's like, wow, you're like way ahead of the curve.
Thank you. Thank you. You're already on the show. You don't need to compliment me. Thank you. Brett Singer has a very good point. He's really broken it down. Don't be smelly. Thank you so much, Brett. That's multimedia, Brett. So
then you become the smelly guy in the office, and everyone's like, "Who's going to say something? Or
yeah,
should we fire him?" Or
exactly. And then you get fired, and you don't know why, and everybody liked you, and all you had to do was not stink.
Right.
So, Jessica, anything else that sticks out? Any situations maybe where you had a challenge and you were able to overcome the challenge?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
I'm going to think a moment. Overcome the challenge. Oh God, I just have another nightmare Fringe Festival that I directed a play in. I think today I do, but there's been times during quarantine I haven't. But thanks, Kristen.
But thank you for looking like you smell good for this recording. I appreciate it.
I know it would be embarrassing to get. Sorry, I'm like talking to. That's your friend.
No, that's the point. Yeah, this is Brett Singer. You don't know Brett?
I know we're Facebook friends, I believe.
Right. Yeah,
but yeah, it would be embarrassing to get fired for being smelly. I know
you both produce shows. You both produce stand-up shows. You should know each other. Both very nice people. So it would be embarrassing to get fired for being smelly. But that being said, that's never happened to you.
Yeah, but I do know people have been managers and had to give talking to people who smelled at their job. But one thing I was just thinking of was the wait. Can you rephrase the question so I was thinking this and I just blanked talking to people.
What challenges have you run into in self-promotion and marketing that you've been able to overcome?
So again, I feel like there's a variety, but one that comes to mind is this other Fringe Festival that I directed, and it was another life lesson where I didn't love the script, and that should have just been enough for me to be like, I'm not doing it. But it was, I was paid a little bit of money, and I was like, woo, this is so fancy. I'm being paid to direct, a play. This is a long time ago. And the script had massive issues. It's like I'm like cringing as I think about it. Very white mansplaining for an issue of that he shouldn't have. Anyway, and then on top of that, like I was dealing with some diva actors, mostly men, but one thing that's really hard with the Fringe Festival is you don't know what theater they're going to assign you at until I think maybe like a few weeks before. I don't know. You don't have a say in it unless maybe you know somebody, but you tell them kind of the guidelines of what you need and what the show is, and they assign you a theater. And at the time when I first did Fringe Festival, I think it was mostly Lower East Side and East Village. I don't know how they figure this stuff out, but at the time of the second Fringe Festival, which was like 2 or 3 years later, again, not a play I wrote, this other play that I shouldn't have done. They did more on like the West Village, and I was assigned, God, like literally I can see this because it was so painful. I was assigned a cafeteria in a school, actually very close to like the comedy clubs. It's like a little off 6th Avenue. I can't think of what street that is. It's like this old school, but anyway, it was a cafeteria. It was August. I remember seeing like giant fans, those like school fans everywhere because it was so hot. I don't know if maybe the AC didn't work. There were so many bad things about it. Like now thinking about it, I almost have PTSD. But you know, once you know your location, like trying to, you know, do the busking thing and different things to get people to come in is again part of the hopefully part of the Fringe experience if you can. And we did do various things, especially because we were right there, you know, by Washington Square Park and stuff. And it did help. And I remember we actually did, the irony of it all is we actually had a great crowd because we were in such a good location. But like, for me, it was almost like painful to watch. Like the acoustics were terrible. It was like so hot. And I've just been dealing with these actors that were like dicks to me. And so like, I was just like, what? And the play, you know, I had huge issues in the player. It was against any notes I would give him. And I was just like, this has been a nightmare. But I kind of like had to put all those things aside when it came to marketing the play. And I think I was able to kind of do that and get a great audience, even if I had mixed feelings about the play itself.
So, I mean, it sounds like you really have had a lot of ups and downs in it. You were right. But it sounds also like it's for the most part worked out for you.
Yeah.
You got onto this show, so things must.
Yeah, this has been amazing. Amazing experience.
You've been amazing. So, what are you doing right now, show-wise? What do you have to promote for us?
So I have the Zoom Room Comedy Show, which you've done, and the lovely Kristen Seltman co-produces with me, which we're doing every other Friday at 8:00 with West Side Comedy Club. That's on Zoom, everybody. If you follow me on all my stuff, you'll see that.
And I think you can get tickets at fcomedyclub.com.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm writing this pilot. Like I said, I've been doing that for a while. And speaking of relationships, I'm actually working with this writing coach. I've never really done this before, having been like, I'm a teacher myself. I have done a lot of writers groups, but she is this really cool coach that helps you kind of with your writing blocks, as well as like has a billion connections in the industry. So it's this really kind of nice balance of like industry help as well as like emotional help as a writer, because I think a lot of us need it. So I've been working on that for a while, and hopefully in maybe 2020, I mean 2020 is whatever, this year doesn't exist, but sometime within the next year I will have the script done. And then like I said, I'm really hoping to make a feature at some point. So I'm gonna try to make a short within the next year. And I have this feature that I acted in, and we're currently trying to find new ways of marketing it, since film festivals are kind of non-existent right now. So that's sort of my deal. Did I talk too long?
No, you did. You've done a great job. We're still under the 45-minute mark.
I'm also teaching some various classes. I'm teaching at Actors Connection for actors who want to learn about screenwriting, which I've done for them before, as well as a 5-week class to help with writing, directing, and producing, to make your own like short projects during this quarantine time, but in general. So if anyone wants to learn about, you know, as an actor, or wants to make their own, or anyone wants to make their own work or scripts, definitely check those out.
Okay. And do you also get hired out as a fortune teller?
Oh yes, I actually. Oh my God, I always, that's like my side life. I'm like, oh, the other part of me. I, as a fortune teller. Yeah, no, it's just funny. I have like my. Do
you have like the thing next to you, the thing to put on your head right next to you? Do you want to reach over? Is there a crystal ball?
Sorry.
Is there a crystal ball to the side?
Bad. Sorry, UCB pantomime. I forgot how to do it.
As long as you don't do this for a gun, I think you're. Or where's my camera? As long as you don't do that as the gun, you're okay. Or if this is the phone, don't do. That's a sin. I was trying to
think what other things are. Yeah, those are fun.
Chair acting. I think chair acting is pretty hated. If you like use the chair, if you're like holding on to the chair for every scene, they hate that.
It's true. That's kind of like your state. You know, your comforting, your, what do you call it? Like your blanket. Anyway, I haven't slept a lot the last couple of days, but I do psychic readings on a website, and then I have a few private clients.
Were you too anxious about coming on the show that you just couldn't sleep?
What?
I was coming on this show. Is that why you couldn't sleep?
I was tossing and turning. I was like, "How am I gonna? This is gonna be so intimidating. I don't know how I'm gonna talk to him. It's has such an amazing show." I'm just, sorry, I keep getting thrown off by the comments. Yeah, it's true. I haven't slept in days because of this show. So, but it's been worth it. But I do have private clients, and I if you are remotely open-minded to psychic readings, I have reviews you can read about. And my friend is actually currently making a website for me because I've never done that. I've sort of kept that life hidden away. So if you ever want a psychic reading with me, I think that this is awful, but it's cheesy, but I think my website is going to be called psychicjessie.com, JESSIE. Very simple. Anyway, check it out. Yeah.
Excellent. We've got one more comment. There you go. Kristen says that you did a reading for her. And obviously, she
Oh, that was funny. That was really funny. I did. I predicted that.
Yeah, she's a very funny comic, Kristen Seltman. She's not being invited onto this show. Jessica, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Please stick around. I'm gonna end the broadcast. Everybody watching, please subscribe, except for Kristen Seltman. You don't have to. Please send comments, and please make sure to watch Jessica's dominatrix film on her YouTube channel. She's at 300,000 views.
Of role playing.
What now?
The Curious Complications of Role Playing is what it's called.
It's called The Curious Complications of Role Playing, and it would like your 300,000 first view, everyone. Thank you so much. I've been Stephen Cohen. This has been Promote You. I'll see you all next week.